Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Gaffer and Gear. Today we're going to be taking a look at Avenger C-Stands. Now I've owned Avenger C-Stands for 25 years, so I can tell you everything that's good about them and everything that's not so good. These are pretty much the standard item on Australian film sets for C-Stands. And the main reason for that is when I started in the industry 20 years ago as a gaffer, the Australian dollar was worth about 50 US cents. So if you bought an American C-Stand, it cost about 800 bucks. But if you bought an Italian C-Stand, it was about $360 for the whole thing with the knuckles and the boom arms. So they really got a big play in Australia, and I've tried other brands and I really like these, and I think it's what I'm used to. Now, I don't have any new ones here to show you. I've got new ones, but I don't want to show you a new one because it sort of defeats the purpose of showing you how they hold up. So just to give you an idea, this one would be about 10 years old. Well, probably less, maybe about somewhere between 6 to 10 years old. I'll tell you how I know in a sec. This one is about 18 years old, and this is a detachable base or a turtle base. We'll go through that in a sec. And these old ladies, or this one's about 25 years old. So I got this before I was a gaffer. So this is a good one to show because anything that's silver is a replacement part. Okay, so that you get to see where they wear out. All right, so let's go through the negatives first. So the main sort of negative with this, where they wear out, is the lock on the adjustable leg. So this lock-off system here, it's got two pieces of metal that cup the pipe, and you've got the lock-off going in that way. And over time, the lock-off will splade the two pieces of metal apart. So that'll start to happen when it gets to about 7 years old. And by the time it gets to about 12 years old, you're going to want to replace that part. So the replacement part is pretty much everything on this stand that is silver. Okay, and that replacement part, you're looking at about something like 30 Australian dollars, 24 to 30 Australian dollars. So, you know, whoop-de-doo, it's nothing, it's pocket money for a gaffer. And then pretty much you're back to square one. The other part where they're consistently damaged is the grip heads. So what tends to happen is you've got your two, let's just go for a bit of lingo here, you've got your two biscuits. Okay, and the two biscuits have a pin that goes in between. So the pin enables the two biscuits to rotate simultaneously, so all your holes line up. So the problem is when you get inexperienced operators, they tend not to close the head properly. They tend to have the pin in the wrong position, and then they try to close it up and force it shut and snap the pin. So that's a problem. So what I've done on on this old lady, that's another good example. Actually, on this one, you can see it. I've put a screw. I've drilled a hole and just put a bolt through. So I've replaced the pin with a bolt. So that's something that happens. But if you're using your own equipment, that's okay. Unfortunately, I do rentals, so it does get a little bit abused. And the other problem with these units, where you've got to be really careful, is if you've got someone in your crew that doesn't know what they're doing. So it's to do with how the stands lock. So I'll just show you how the stands lock up. So the bottom leg is spring-loaded. So that slides out and goes into a notch and locks, and that's pretty solid. And then the top one is free-floating, and that falls into a notch, and then you're done, you lock it up. Beautiful, no problem. Those legs are not going to separate. Okay, push that along with my feet, no worries at all. But if you get someone that doesn't know what they're doing, which is pretty much anybody starting out, okay, they go the opposite way, they go the wrong direction. They don't realise it's meant to lock, and this is where these stands can be problematic, is if someone has done it wrong, okay, and the stand gets pushed along the ground, okay, basically that's it. It's just going to fall over because there's nothing holding the legs in place. So that is probably the biggest danger with them, is if they're not assembled correctly. So, you know, operator error, but it is the one thing with these where it is really dangerous, because if they are assembled wrong, they just fall over real easy. Even with a shop bag on it. Actually, you put a shop bag on it, it falls over faster. So that is something to be aware of. Now, in terms of build quality, one thing I really do like with these is the top pipe is nice and fat. I've seen quite a few other ones where it's a skinnier pipe. Yeah, it's a good gauge pipe. and the same with the bottom column. They're all good gauge pipes. And the light stand is true stainless steel. So if you get it wet and you pack it up wet, or it comes back from a rental that's been packed wet, when you extend it out, there'll be no rust on the inside from the inside of the column below. It is all stainless, so that's really good. And the lock-offs are really solid. The clutch engages nicely to the pipe. So I've seen other C-stands where if you don't get it super tight, they cascade down. That doesn't happen on these units. So the next thing I suppose I'll show you is how much play is in the pipes. So I'm just going to bag it up. Okay, right to tighten, left to loosen. Let's go about that far out. So that's 12.5 kilograms. Okay, so as you can see, the pipe can hold a decent weight. I wouldn't want to go any further out than that. I'd be worried about bending it, but we're being stupid if we're doing that. And that gives you an idea of the amount of play that's in the stands. So there is a bit of play there, like on all C-stands, but it's not too bad. So you definitely want to make sure you're over your large leg. But they're a pretty good stand. I haven't had a problem with them. And like I say, some of them are really, really old. Now, if you're buying second hand, something to be aware of, if they're older than 10 years old, the welds up here don't hold all that well, and there's a bit of play. So the easy way around that is just to drill some holes and put some self-tapping screws through. But that is a fault they fixed up on later models. So they've actually put a pin through here that goes into the rod, so there's no play in the unit at all. And the next thing I like with these is if you manage to strip a thread, which I haven't done, but it's happened on rentals. If you manage to strip a thread, you can actually have the thread replaced. So the thread actually sits inside the board thread that's in the bit, so you can actually get the thread replaced. The last thing I want to point out on this C-stand is the adjustable legs. With the Manfrottos, the legs are super easy to adjust, so there's no problem in adjusting your height on them. Super handy. Let that fall down. Okay, as long as you clean them, they're okay. Oh, now in terms of cleaning them, these are super low maintenance because they don't rust. So I'd probably clean them once every 2 years. Mind you, I don't work in a lot of dirty environments, but about once every 2 years is probably when I clean them. Now I'll just show you, this stand here is the turtle base, or a detachable base. So it's pretty much the same thing, except it's the Swiss Army knife of C-stands. So I've got a little floor stand here now that I can use for a bigger light. Okay, and I've got a riser, so I can take this section off and use this as a riser. So I can put this in the top of another stand. So say my super wind-up stand, I'll put one of these in the top of that, and then extend this up to full height, and I'll put it like a Forza 500, which is a 3 kilogram light. So I've got the big stand underneath that's rated at 80 kilograms. I'd still shot bag the heck out of it, and I can get a Forza 500 up about 24 foot. But just one thing I want to point out, don't put a clamp in this end and use it as a dropper out of a studio grid, because the locking mechanism on the collars here is not designed to hold the weight at the bottom. It's designed for the weight to be at the top pushing down. Okay, so that's something to point out. But look, I think I've pretty much covered C-stands there. That's about it, yeah. So look, they're pretty good. I haven't had any real problems with them. One thing I'm not sure if I've already discussed it, but the feet. I've never had to replace a pair of feet on any of them. And like I say, these ones are about 25 years old. I've never had the feet scratch a surface. So they're very, very good feet. Now, a regular C-stand is 40 inches tall, but you can also get these 20-inch C-stands. Now, about 25 years ago, Avenger also made a baby C-stand, which was similar to this. So the difference was, instead of having regular size legs, you had these smaller legs, which enabled you to get into tight little corners. Now, I missed out on this, but one of my best boys came up with a fantastic hack. He just got one of my regular 20-inch C-stands and cut about 2 or 3 inches off the legs and then reattached them to make a baby C-stand for me. So where I use this is on car shoots. If I'm doing car interiors, these small legs enable me to get a C-stand right into the door jamb of the car, and then I can boom a light in over the dashboard, over the driver's seat. So yeah, really handy little hack, and I really appreciate it. Anyway, I think we've done Avenger C-Stands. I'll catch you on the next episode of Gaffer and Gear. Don't forget to click like and subscribe.